So, we are now able to go inward, to train ourselves to do it from occasionally till permanently, yes? And now we start to look at that magical power, that magical inner spiritual energy that starts to stream from within outwards. That magical stream of energy you realize as a voice when it's your conscience, as a light when it's your intuition and from your inner Buddha. What is that power? What is that power? That power is always there. You are part of the sphere of influence of that cosmical inner part of you. And that means that you are always within that influence. You are never out, and you don't have to go in that influence. You are always there. Only your spiritual umbilical cord is not able to take in that food. You can call it food. Yes, the Greek called it ambrosia. What is happening when you make that contact with your conscience so strong as possible? Then you start resonating with your conscience. And that influence, that inspiration, that influence start to flow. And it is perhaps difficult to build a picture of that, but I can perhaps give an example. When on the sun, the outer sun we see, that is not the real sun, that is the body of the inner sun, but what we see as the sun in the sky, sometimes there are solar flares. Yes, then that's an outburst of energy from the oppervlak, from the surface of the solar body. What happens with that energy that is bursting out, that goes all through the solar system and reaches our planet? And it reaches our planet at the northern part, the North Pole, and we experience it as northern light. And in the same way, you can a little bit see how that influence of our conscience reaches our outer waking consciousness through our heart or through our mind. You can choose, and it is in the same way. And what happens when that spiritual food is flowing to our learning part, our daily human consciousness? What happens then? Then we, as growing, learning human beings, are fed by it, are energized by it. And you know it when you have contact with your conscience. Suddenly you see it and you feel within yourself an inner spiritual strength. But that is only half of the picture. For your personality, your instrument during this life, yes, that part of you who works and has a job and so on, that part of you by which you can make contact with others, that part that remains alive only during one life, that part is strengthened by that magical power as well. And what is the result? That both parts, you as a learning human being and your personality, your instrument to work on this level, both are in fact becoming stronger. And that has a positive side, for you are growing and developing spiritually, but at the same time, your personality becomes stronger as well. And that is the tricky part of the whole thing. And our last symposium in September, it's also on the internet, and we had the text. Is it already the English Lucifer Lightbringer is already sent out?
I'm not sure.
I promise you, the text of the symposium about those 2 lines of strengthening within yourself, we gave 2 times 3 lectures about it, and they are in our magazine. And if you... Not yet?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You can download it as well. And then you see how it works. And what we did not do during that symposium is talking about the strengthening of the personality. And tonight I want to explain more about it, because it diverts your attention from what really happens. For the inner spiritual influence makes you stronger, makes your character stronger, makes you more spiritual and more conscious, in fact. And it goes in 7 steps. The first thing that changes in your character is the fact that you start to love all life, friend and foe. That is the first step in spiritualizing your character as a result of listening to your conscience. And the side effect within your personality is hope. And a lot of people say, yes, but hope, that is such a positive thing. It is seemingly positive because hope, you only hope something when at the back of your mind you are not yet sure. Otherwise you would have been sure. And that is another thing than hoping. Yes, I hope I have food tomorrow, instead of I'm sure I have food tomorrow. You hear the difference. So hope is a personal emotion. And that personal emotion can take over your idea of what you are. Because you are the learning, reincarnating part of yourself. You are the reincarnating ego. And you have a personality. And the moment you start loving all life, friend and foe, then your personality starts hoping. And the moment you say, I hope, then you are, in fact, identifying yourself with your personality. And then it's a step backward instead of forward. So when you love all life, then you know that hoping is only a side effect. It is unimportant. It is not you. It is the personality. And one of my favorite examples is when a baby child, starts having teeth. How does a mother discover that the teeth are coming through? Because the baby starts drooling. And seldom a mother says, "Oh, my baby is drooling." No, the mother says, "Oh, my baby gets teeth." And that is the good thing. Drooling is a side effect, is unimportant. The moment the teeth are there, the drooling stops. Everyone knows that. No one sleeps worse at night because of the drooling of the baby. The same with hope. And hope is not so important, yes, but the second aspect of your character that you are spiritualizing to come nearer to that conscience, because you follow the conscience, is that you keep all promises you have made in your life. Have you ever tried to do that? Keeping all your promises, so harmonizing karma, yes, it's an adventure. It's really an adventure. And in the beginning, you think, "Oh, I never will be able to do that," but you can. And you start living on another level when you keep all your promises. But your instrument, your personality, starts to doubt. The spiritual influence of that magical power from within builds within your instrument, your personality, the emotion of doubt. And it is a real pity when you say, "I start to doubt." For it is not you, it is your instrument. You are starting to keep all the promises you made. That is a way of living that is wonderful to do. Try it. And then, after doubt, the personality develops fear. When? When you, as a searching, reincarnating human being, start to become patient in all karmic situations. How difficult they are, you have a quiet, patient attitude. And you have no idea, friends, how inspiring that attitude is for the people around you. When you are quiet and patient, yes, then the fear of your personality is recognized by you as a side effect, a byproduct, a drooling of more teeth coming through. And then, the fourth level, you rise above the idea of joy and sorrow, the idea of sympathy and antipathy. I like him and I don't like her. Yes, that level you overgrow. You grow higher than that. And at the same time, your personality is shouting very loud, trying to make you forgetting what you are doing, that rising above joy and sorrow. And the personality expresses intense fear. You see hope, doubt, fear, and intense fear. Are you strong enough spiritually to say, "I am ennobling my character. I am loving all life. I am keeping all my promises. I face all karma with understanding and patience, and I rise above sympathy and antipathy. That is who I am, and that is what I do in relation with my conscience. And all the other things, the hope, the doubt, the fear, the intense fear, the terror, are unimportant. The moment I do a next step, it's all forgotten. And that is why we have this lecture tonight, to help you, to support you, to discover this part within yourself. And that is why I'm so glad with the question about observing. Yes? Because you are able to observe you, yourself, rising above joy and sorrow, and to observing your instrument, exclaiming intense fear. And we go further. The fifth step you do is that you fight courageously for the good. And thanks to your conscience, you are very able to discover what is good and what is not good. So you fight courageously for the good. And your personality answers it, uses that same energy, that magical power, to develop unrestrained combativeness. I don't know whether combativeness is a normal English word, but the tendency, instead of fighting courageously for the good, you start quarreling with everyone. You write letters to newspapers. You make fights with everyone who thinks in another way than you think. And that is the personality, misusing courage. Yes? And you are the master. You are disciplining your unrestrained combativeness tendency in your personality. You are able to do that together with your conscience. And the sixth level in which you develop, in fact, the wisdom within your conscience, and you take that into your daily life as a normal habit. Yes? And we call it that then in the sixth level you stand in the light of knowledge by meditation. And that meditation is in fact not the meditation you find in so many groups and yes, also techniques in books and so on. That meditation is going inward to those higher aspects of yourself. And the personality reacts on that with the side effect, with the byproduct of searching for happiness and liberation of all the trouble in the world. And that is the only thing why I sometimes regret that the Dalai Lama publishes books about how good happiness is. Yes, it is the impulse of every human being to be happy. But that is not the real highest impulse. The highest impulse is to become useful for the universe, useful for humanity, useful for the planet. That is our real goal why in the sixth level we stand in the light of knowledge by meditation. We seek that wisdom within ourselves to be a useful instrument in the life of the planet. And that is a totally other thing than happiness. Happiness is a kind of dream. Liberation is in fact isolation from suffering mankind, and that will never be a useful thing. So that's the sixth step, and I hope I am not disappointing you by giving you the hint. Do not try to be happy anymore, but do something better with your energy, with that magical power that flows from within you outwards. And then we have the seventh step. And in our Lucifer magazine, there is a wonderful article about that seventh step. And that seventh step is called in Buddhism the other shore, reaching the other shore. And that is wisdom. That is wisdom that transcends all knowledge of our known world, the planet, and so on. And when you reach the other shore, and you are filled with wisdom, yes, conscience, wisdom, you see it, then you do not use it for yourself. And therefore, the byproduct, the side effect of the personality with that seventh step is none. There is no side effect anymore, because the personality is totally mastered and led and guided and well trained by you as a learning, reincarnating human being. That is the most wonderful experience you can have within yourself. And at that moment, that inner wisdom streams without any personality shouting over it. Yes, it streams naturally within you. And now is a very critical time, a very critical moment. Because many people, writers, artists, many other people as well, see that as the ultimate experience of that magical power streaming from within outward. But that isn't true. Those magical moments of bliss, of seeing truth and so on, are not yours, because they come from that inner God within you. And what is the characteristic of that inner God? That is universality. That inner God that had its sphere of consciousness over the whole inner galaxy. That is universality. And when you receive something from such a universal source, you ought to, you are in fact, how must I say that? It is a task of you, an obligation to use it for the benefit of that universal stage. When your conscience teaches you something, and your inner teacher has a sphere of influence as large as the inner spheres of our planet, the moment you receive that magical power, you have to give it immediately for the benefit of the whole planet. If you receive from within an intuition from your inner Buddha or inner Christ that has a sphere of influence as large as the inner solar levels, the inner spheres of the sun, then you have to use that energy for the whole solar system. So there is not anymore 1 second that you can use that magical power from within for you as a personality, for you as a searching human being, a searching, reincarnating human being, for it is not of you, it is not yours. It belongs, that magical power, to the planet, to the solar system, and to the galaxy, not anymore you. So if you are buying tickets of what shall we do? Do you have the? Yes, you have it in every country. Lotteries, national lotteries. If you buy a ticket and you receive a prize, in fact, you have to spend that money for the whole country and not for you. And this, friends, is an idea that is not so popular in the world. But when you have done 7 steps of loving all life, friend or foe, of keeping all promises you make, of facing all karma with patience, rising above sympathy and antipathy, of fighting courageously for the good, of standing in the light of knowledge by meditation, and of reaching the other shore, wisdom. If you have done all those steps, then you know there is not me anymore. And all those lottery prizes are useless and of no importance for you. I hope that I have explained well enough the hope, the doubt, the fear, the intense fear, the unrestrained combativeness, and the searching for happiness. Hooray, I'm in nirvana now. Yes, it is an illusion. Yes, for you are the universe. You don't have to step into nirvana. And now you see the 7 steps with the 7 side effects of the personality brought about by that magical power from within that you evoked by going into contact with your conscience. So that was quite a lot of information, and we stop again for 3 minutes. You can make your questions, and we answer them after 3 minutes. So, questions. Are there questions?
Yes, we've received 2. The first one is about drugs and alcohol. People who use those, do they do that as a search for happiness?
I ask for your patience. For drugs and alcohol will be the first thing I have to explain during the rest of my lecture. So wait until then, and if it is not clear after my explanation, then ask your question again at the end of the lecture. Yes, if you don't mind. I cannot see you, so I am not sure.
We've received another one.
Yeah?
Assuming that everything is life and consciousness, does training your imagination mean cooperating with other beings?
That's a difficult question. We are thinking beings. That is why we are called human beings. We learn our lessons in this lifetime of the planet by thinking. And thinking, in fact, is looking with your thinking eye and seeing thoughts. Have you ever realized what thinking is? If you want to think of something, you build yourself an image of something about which you want to think. And that is, in fact, image building is imagination. And imagination builds a thought, a high thought, a lower quality thought. For my classes, I always used a strawberry, wat is dat nou? What are you eating at the ice cream? Strawberry sorbet. Oh. Strawberry sorbet. Such a beautiful, with all the fruits and the ice cream. And all my pupils understood that always. That is an image. When you think of strawberry ice cream, you think of it and you form yourself an image of such a lovely ice cream. That is, in fact, using your imagination for a very not so spiritual thing. It's only ice cream. But you also can use your imagination to imagine yourself the most beautiful ideals in the world. And that means that you have the ability to choose on which level of morality or of consciousness you want to imagine something. And one thought that you imagine yourself is very helpful for others and influence others in a very positive way, and other thoughts are not so helpful. Yes, if you are constantly fighting against the idea that you have to wear face masks and you start crying and yelling for our government and in other cities as well, just because such a simple face mask of paper or a little tissue, it is so unimportant. At the time you do that, you infect others with that emotion like measles. In fact, at the moment we have more an emotional pandemic than a viral pandemic, and not everyone realizes that. In fact, what you imagine yourself in your thoughts is infectious to other thinkers, and they constantly will be influenced by that. And that doesn't help humanity so much. Perhaps I should have taken another example than face mask, but I hope you understand that. You always have an influence on others, because often unconsciously they take up your idea and your image, and they have the feeling that they are thinking that. And of course they do that, but it's not their own idea from within. They just take your idea, and in that way, a mental microbe walks through a country, through a city, through whole humanity. And that, yes, if you understand what happens and you look at your conscience, then you realize double and three-double how responsible you are for what you think. Do our course thinking differently, and you can train that with a group of people, how to do that and how not to do that. It's fascinating. Okay, I hope this answers enough.
We've received one more question.
Yes?
When you are astray, or when you've lost your way home, or that you've forgotten that you are a god in the making, then reconnecting is probably the best thing that could happen. Would you agree?
Lovely. All those questions, I have the idea you should have helped me while preparing this lecture, for I want to end my lecture explaining to you how you can restore your connection with your inner God and your inner teacher and your conscience when you have lost that. So have patience, and afterwards we always can talk more about it.
That was the last question.
Yes? So, in fact, instead of having the last part of this lecture, in fact, I am answering 2 questions, and it's the same.